guys and girls, here's what's on our bench today. So it's a Jackson Kelly, and you can see it's the Jackson Performer. So that would make it the bolt-on neck version, made in Japan. Jackson tuners on this thing. You know, it's a used guitar, relatively nice condition overall. The strings are really old, and you can see that, you know, there's a lot of rust on them. And the overall condition of the frets, they seem like they're okay. I don't see any divots under here. Fretboard is really dry. Got the locking nut right here. They're locked down, but let's put new strings on this thing and test it out and try to get it going really good. Here we go. All right, so I got my trem block here, and this was gifted to me, and you just set this thing underneath here, and it keeps that tremolo somewhat flat. So now you can get in here and pull all the strings off. If you've got a Floyd Rose guitar, a lot of times an easy way to change the strings is to do one string at a time so the trem doesn't fall all the way down. You take one string off, put the new string on, you tune it back to pitch, and it'll keep this tremolo from just sinking down in there. This one, you know, it's sunk, so got some work to do on this one today, but we'll be able to, I think we'll be able to get it. Start with these locking tuners, or the locking nuts. I set them over here so I can put them back in the same position. I have this tool that works really good for locking nuts and the strings. Should be able to come in right here and loosen these. That one was already loose. Then it's a good idea to snug them back in a little bit just to keep that little block in place, because they'll fall out and they'll get lost. And some guys have workbenches that are really immaculate and super clean. My workbench is a little, you know, it could be cleaner. It's not horrible. It could be cleaner. And these are just coming out really easily. Of course, I probably should have loosened the string a little bit, but all the strings are loose, so. Okay, this low E string's kind of messing with me. Sometimes guys will actually shove the whole ball of the string down in there. I have seen that. You guys think I'm crazy, but no. I've seen people shove the whole entire string and the ball down there, but not in this case. All right, let's snug the tuners down a little bit up here. Every guitar, it always seems like the tuners are loose. Okay, shine the guitar up a little bit. Okay, now let's look at the neck. Okay. Yeah, alright, let's look at these now. Here's what I usually do, is I use my fretboard guard and a little tiny bit of 1000 grit sandpaper, and I just kind of hit these a little bit to get the rust off of them. Maybe it's a little bit of corrosion. A couple of swipes with sandpaper, and you can use steel wool, but it seems like this works good for me. If you use steel wool though, you'll have to mask off your pickups because that steel wool will get everywhere and it'll attach itself to the magnets in your pickups. Stumac microfiber cloth. Okay, so now I'm going to take some of my Music Nomad F1 oil, and I maybe use a little bit too much, but this fretboard is super dry. Paper towel. I'm running out of paper towels. I need a new roll. Let's just then smear this stuff in. Just gonna let that soak for a little bit, and then I'll wipe off the excess. Okay, there we go, man. We got a clean neck. Alright, let's test on the electronics a little bit. The output jack seems good. Single volume. Three-way switch. Where's the tone control, right? Good. Good. Little scratchiness in that volume, but I'm going to say the electronics on this thing are just fine. You've got the Jackson branded pickups right there. The Floyd says Jackson on it. I think it's time for strings. Let me grab a set of 10. Okay, Jackson Kelly. It's going to get some regular slinky 10 through 46 Ernie Ball strings on it. So you just got to make sure that that goes nicely in there and centered, because I've seen them sometimes where the string is off to the side. So make sure that it's centered in the saddle nicely. Got my Ernie Ball string winder. Make string change outs quicker. Okay, here's our 36 gauge A string. So there's a lot of guys that prefer different strings as far as brand. Let me know in the comments what strings you guys use, what you prefer. So, you know, I sell a lot of Ernie Ball strings. Ernie Balls are my #1 seller. But then I get these guys and they're like, oh, I only played D'Addario strings. I actually had a customer last week come in, and he called for Fender strings, and I'm like, man, nobody ever asks for Fender strings, which seems weird, but yeah, nobody ever asked for Fender strings. Metallica Flex brand new cables. I have some of these in stock for any of you local guys that come in and need a 10-foot Ernie Ball cable. I have those in stock. Okay, maybe put a couple too many winds around the tuner on that one. Okay, our B string is a 13 gauge. So I did a video last week about my BC Rich collection, and that video did very well, so thank you guys for any of you guys that watched that one. So I kind of have a lot of Jacksons in the store, so I could do a video about my Jackson collection that's here in the store. And I've got a few Dean guitars, a couple of Dave Mustaine V's, and a few things. I could maybe do a Dean guitar collection video. But the BC Riches were a bunch of guitars, and if you watch the videos, you guys already know. But my BC Riches collection is a bunch of cheap BC Riches. Not all of them, but most of them. And they've been painted and all kinds of stuff like that. But none of my Jacksons have been painted. None of my Dean guitars have been repainted. I didn't do anything like that. Just the paint jobs were just basically on BC Rich guitars. If you haven't watched it, go back in my videos from just 2 or 3 videos back, and you can check out all my BC Rich video, all my BC Rich guitars in one video. Although I do have one BC Rich bass that's at home in my closet. So there's a couple we didn't see. I get a couple comments once in a while where guys are like, man, I'd love to see ZIMM'S private collection of stuff he has at home under the bed. And honestly, guys, I don't have a collection of stuff at home under my bed. I have a couple of bass guitars that I have at the house because I'm a bass player in a band. So I have 3 or 4 basses, but there's nothing special. I don't need a $4,000 bass to go play a gig. I play a cheap Mexican P bass. So no great collection of stuff. I'm not anywhere near the caliber guitar shop like a Norm's Rare Guitars or Carter's Vintage Guitars. I don't do vintage guitars and have a lockers full of them or anything like that. What I have is here at the store. Everything I have is here at the store. Okay, we're gonna go a half step down on these. Alright, now I think I can take the trem blocker out and it's basically loose now anyhow. So let's take a look at that. You can see that it should sort of stay flat. It's pretty close to being perfect. I think I might tighten the springs up a little tiny bit. So let's pull the back plate off. And let's take a look at what we got going on in here. So yeah, nice and clean. Plenty of room in there to make some adjustments. So again, I'm just going to tighten it a little tiny bit. And when I tighten these claws, I always try to make sure that I have basically the same distance here as I do here. You don't want to tighten one side in. You want it to be sort of straight across when you're tightening those things down. So I was hoping it would pull it this way a little. So it's kind of buzzing a little bit. Let's take a look at the neck. Alright, so I have my notched straight edge. It has these notches in here, so you can just lay it down in there. And this is a long scale, 25.5, so it lays right in there really nice. Now I have my feeler gauge, and it's at the, what is that? 10 thousandths. And it's not a little tiny bit right there. Yeah, it looks really flat with the feeler gauge, and just getting down here and looking at it. That thing is flat. I see no relief in it. Little tiny bit of back bow. You can see a little tiny gap under the second fret here. My feeler gauge won't even go through there. So that is very, very flat. Okay, so what I think I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to loosen this truss rod just a little bit. The truss rod cover off. And slide that thing out of the way. Okay, made in Japan. So this takes, I'm going to guess, it's got the nut on the end of the truss rod there. Let me see if I can show you the nut. See the nut that's in there? Okay, so I think this is the right wrench that goes on there. Yep. Alright, so I'm going to loosen it. So I'm going to push it this way a little bit. There we go. And of course my strings are in the way. Sometimes you can move the strings out of the way, and that'll help. And I've seen Dan Irwine, right, the Stumac guy, he kind of presses on it. He kind of moves it around a little bit like this. A little light pressure just to help that truss rod do its job. Because we do have full string tension. Okay, let's see if it gave it a little bit. Okay, we got a little bit of relief in it now. Let me bring it over here so I can see a little bit better. Okay. So let's see if this... I'm going to go a little tiny bit more if I can. Problem is these strings are kind of in the way. There we go. There we go. Okay, that looks good to me. We're going to leave it right there. Okay, so she's getting very close to being tuned. Half step down. And I've got that trim laying nice and flat now. So that should, it matters because if you have it lifted up too high, it does lift your string height. So, and if it's too low, you know, this is all about string height here. Having this thing perfectly flat is where you want it. So you got to stretch the strings out, and we're really, by tugging on these strings, we're really testing these little blocks that are down in here. But you got to kind of test on it, and you got to kind of stretch these strings out. Now this guitar is for sale. This is not a customer's restring. This is part of my inventory. So this one is for sale, and a lot of you guys will watch one of my videos and you'll call me directly. And I will ship it out to you. This one does have a nice big hard shell case. Okay, let me go ahead and I'm going to put the locking nuts back on here. And looks like I've left plenty of room down here on these fine adjusters. You know, make sure that you leave a lot of room on there when you do your string change out. Because they're going to be flat, they're going to be sharp, and you need them to be where you've got plenty of adjustability there. Alright, let's take a listen real quick. Let's see how the action feels. I haven't cut the strings off yet. String height is really low on it. Probably could, you know, maybe raise the bridge just a tad. Probably could loosen the truss rod just a little. But some guys want their string height just totally just slammed. And so for a shredder like a Jackson Kelly, we're going to leave it nice and shreddy. We're going to leave the string height nice and low. Alright, nice and shreddy. Overall, I'm going to say, on a scale from 1 to 10, just looking at the body, looking at the end here, got a little dent right there, maybe a little more of an indentation. Made in Japan sticker is still on there. It's got some scratchiness down here, somebody's strap. The guitar strap scratched it. It's got some wear marks around here, again more from the strap. I think the strap is the only thing that did damage to this thing. So, yeah. Scale from 1 to 10, I'll call it a good 7. Maybe an 8. like it's staying in tune really well. Super fun guitar. Jackson Kelly.